Hey guys, this is Caspia's Tape, and today you join me for episode 38 of Caspia Road to Exploration. And it's been a little while, so this is a slightly longer episode to sort of make up for that, and sort of because I just had loads of footage. But yes, I will be trying to do these more frequently. But anyway, my first thing to say is, I apologize if there is fan noise in the background. It's still pretty warm in Britain for some reason. But anyway, what are we doing right now? We're fueling up the Thor 1, the lander I sent up last episode, with, well, just the purpose of being able to put more Kerbals on the surface of other bodies. And this, well, this is bound for the moon today, loaded up with a very specialized crew. Our best pilot, Jebediah Kerman, or, well, joint best with Valentina, I think, because they're both badasses and have the same skill level. And we've got Adam Kerman, an engineer we've had for a while. Also a random bit of space debris, which will probably come back to kill our station. And we've also got Haney Kerman, who's been rescued recently, I think, and will be the scientist, because we are going to the moon base, and we will be sending a science station in a little bit. But yeah, so first we need to put some Kerbals down, and so that we can do all of the base maintenance when the lab gets there, because it's going to be a new module to the base, and we've got to get that all set up. And this will be our first long-duration mission. We've only done one mission. Oh, and I just cut through the burn there because it took a little while. But yes, we have our encounter with the moon, and everything should be good. And we're going to dock with the Neptune station, which is our station around the moon, so that we can leave this fuel tank in orbit somewhere secure on the station, so we'll definitely be able to find it. And I'm grabbing a little science on the way up here. Because I have a gravioli detector, which very expensive, but pays off like hell, because it works in every biome. And in every like, basically on the surface of every biome and in space above every biome. So yeah, and I'm grabbing as much science as I can really on the way to the moon, because when I send the lab, I'm going to need some science to process so that I can produce more science on the moon. But yes, as I was saying, there's been one mission to the moon base before, and it was a 3-day stay. And it was just basically to put it together and get it all prepared. But now we have all of the hardware and all, but it's taken a while, I know. But it means that we will be able to start doing real missions to it. And we're getting a little more science on our way here, gravioli and pressure scans. But yeah, so I'm also at some point, like I've said, going to send a rover down. I'm not entirely sure when that's going to happen. But the combination of the rover and the lab will actually, when I connect them, make it possible. It'll complete another base mission, so it will pay for itself, and we'll technically have 2 bases on the surface. But yeah, so I'm thinking that's gonna be pretty great. So we're just gonna get into the correct position above the moon, and well, yeah, we need to do an inclination change because we need to dock with the station first. A little more fuel, and I'm hoping this does have enough fuel. But the problem is, we actually didn't bring a roughly like kind of, I think it was only a tiny little bit of fuel that we didn't bring, like 30 units or so much, but still, that's a bit of fuel I didn't bring because I accidentally, it was in the tiny little tanks on the bottom of the spacecraft, and those, yeah, those weren't totally full when I left, so hopefully that won't have any effect. But there is a little bit of fuel on the base, you know, remaining in the landing tanks of the base module, so hopefully it should be fine. But yeah, I will need to do a slight refuel on the lander, because it turns out the lander also burns the fuel from the smaller tanks first, before it burns it out of the transfer tank, the big one on the front, so I do lose a little fuel, so I'll have to make sure in future that I turn off fuel feed from the smaller tanks and just have them as reserve tanks, I think, which would be good. But yes, anyway, here we are at the tiny little Neptune station. At some point I want to send out the what's it called? The Ares 2, my old kind of interplanetary transfer vehicle. Oh yeah, here we are just fueling up real quick. But yeah, my old interplanetary transfer vehicle, I want to send that out so that we can start doing, so we can expand the station a little bit with an old piece of hardware, and it has some fuel stores on it. So yeah, because I don't need that spacecraft anymore, and it's just sitting around, so I think I'm just going to use it as kind of a bit of a scrapyard station sort of thing. Anyway, yes, we are all docked to the station, and now we're going to separate the now fully fueled lander and descend to the surface, where we will, where we will be able to, you know, go to the base. And I think this should have enough Delta V. It has pretty much the same Delta V as the Red Origin 3, which was my old kind of 2-person lander, which still is in service and will be actually doing a mission today when this is on the moon, because this is going to be staying on the moon for a while. I'm actually going to at some point send up another one of these, so it will be Thor 1 and Thor 2, and they will, well, those they'll just act as my kind of to-the-surface transfer vehicles. So yeah, let's get on down here. You can see there's I think is that MechJeb that puts that target marker on there? I think so. I also have a mission to plant a flag on the moon, so I'm going to give the moon base its first flag, and get like 70 grand out of it, which will more than pay for this mission, which is good. We do make quite a lot of money today, which is good. But yeah, we're just kind of balancing this, making sure that I get in close, and as long as I'm within a couple of 100 meters, I can walk easily. The rover I've designed, which will be sent up at some point, but the problem right now is it's too big. It's too tall to fit into my kind of fit into my vehicle requirements, because I still have level 2 launch capabilities, so I'm going to have to upgrade them at some point so I can send bigger payloads. But yeah, you can see I'm just kind of maneuvering a little bit just to kind of try and get in as close as possible, and we actually end up landing within 100 meters of the base, which isn't bad. Yeah, just touched down. I quite like how this lander looks, actually. It's kind of it looks a little weird because of the science module, but I do quite like it. So yeah, we're just going to grab all of the science that we can from the surface. Only little bits, but we'll be able to put it into a lab and retrieve some things from it. So I'm going to take all of that science, well, a little bit of the science with Jeb, and then the scientist will grab the rest, and move over to the core after I've planted my flag. Yes, I haven't been here in a while, but I do remember how nice it looks all connected with these pipes. That's Kerbal attachment system that allows me to do that, and Kerbal inventory system as well. Those two mods combine to allow you to actually build stuff, kind of connect stuff with pipes and connect little things to bits. So yeah, I'm trying to get into this. I really should have put some ladders on here, or built it with the proper parts, with the proper landing legs you're supposed to use. I did do that on the Minmus base. Not that I really use the Minmus base, or even really plan to. I just put it there for the money. But yeah, I'm just going to grab all of this science with the scientist and reset the experiments that need to be reset, and move over to the moon base. It's still called Moonbase Alpha Core. I should probably change that at some point. But yes, and then finally get our engineer out, who will be needed to do base maintenance. That's the main reason I needed a 3-person lander, because I need a pilot, a scientist, and an engineer to run this base. Oh, and also, I kind of fall off the ladder, get stuck under that landing leg, and it explodes, which is rather worrying. So I decide not to stress that door anymore, and get up into the command module, so that I don't put too much weight on where there isn't a landing leg. I'm going to try and repair that at some point. But yeah, I've just taken a quick look around the base from the IVA, and you can see there's actually beds. I really love the IVA mode of that. Anyway, as I said earlier, we will be doing a mission with the Red Origin 2, this lander. So we're going to get that all fueled up and get the science experiments reset. And then we're going to send it on its way, as you can see here. It usually takes me a while to get everything prepared for a mission, so I usually cut through it. And here we are after a little bit of planning. We've got our encounter with Minmus. This mission will be landing on Minmus to plant a flag, because people love it when I plant flags, apparently. The missions just keep coming up being like, I'll give you 100 grand to plant a flag on Minmus. I'll fucking do it, man. I'm like, alright. And we're also going to rescue a Kerbal from orbit of Minmus, which is great, because that pays about 100 grand, so this will give me about 200 grand, and it was just using residual fuel on the station. But again, yes, this burn took a little long, well, quite long, because it's a very low thrust-to-weight ratio spacecraft, so I might just cut through it, and here we are just getting our encounter sort of with Minmus. It keeps going in and out, so I am going to have to do a bit of a fine tune on the way here, and I keep losing the encounter though, which is kind of annoying. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And yeah, the Kerbal we have to save, we're going to do that first. Is in a bit of an annoyingly skew-if orbit, really, which is a bit of a shame. But it's fine, you know. I like interesting maneuvers. And yeah, I'd choose the RCS to do this burn, because it's only like 2 meters per second of delta V. So yeah, so we're just going to move on up there, and you can see in the alarm clock I will be launching the Moon Lab in 4 days. So this mission will be completed on its way back by the time we are ready to launch the Moon Lab, which is going to be an interesting mission, because it's quite hard landing stuff like that. And I'm just doing a quick load and a quick save, because I had that annoying thing where there's a where Scatterer puts like an atmospheric effect halfway across my screen, so in space it looks like you're in the atmosphere. It's really annoying, so I often have to quick load my way out of that. But yes, you can see we're in a pretty bad orbit to meet this orbit we've got targeted, so I'm just going to go around the other side, do a quick inclination change, and then a radial burn. And yeah, so just southerly burn was that normal, anti-normal. So yeah, we're in the right plane now, and we just need to figure out, well, need to get into a more similar orbit, and then figure out how much we need to burn to meet it a couple of orbits from now. So what I'm going to do is throw down I'm going to burn prograde a little, and then I'm going to throw down a maneuver and see in a few orbits I get pretty close. So if I do a little tweak in a few orbits, I will meet the spacecraft, which is good. So yeah, I do cut through. It took me like, it was like a 3-hour warp, which takes ages, even at warp speed. So yeah, so a quick 2 meter per second burn, and we'll meet the spacecraft around the other side. You can see just about, well, 100 meters or so, which isn't bad. Yeah, it was actually surprisingly easy to rendezvous with this. It's when stuff's in a really high orbit of Minmus, it's really annoying because the velocities are so slow, it's really hard to get an encounter. But luckily this was pretty low down. And it's Alfred's pod, that's pretty cool. I want a Kerbal called Alfred. That's pretty awesome. So we'll get him out of what appears just to be an airlock. I think that's an airlock part. And then just kind of get into here. That's lucky. I guess it must have Mark Watney'd on him where the airlock explodes. Spoilers. But that's been out for a long time. But yeah, should watch that film again and read the book again, and then probably just not enjoy the film as much because I read the book. Just because, you know, when there's stuff in the book and you're like, I want to see this in the film, and it's not in it, you're like, oh. Anyway, so I'm going to go and land on the poles of Minmus because I want to grab a bunch of science. And I think I've grabbed science from every biome except the poles now on Minmus, so I'm going to go and clean that up, and I will be sending a spacecraft at some point just to clean up like gravity and pressure experiments because I haven't fully exploited all of the biomes yet, but I haven't. But I have been to most of them. So yeah, anyway, we're going to get into a polar orbit just by burning at our radial node so that we we'll pass over the North Pole and then hopefully land. We're going to leave, obviously, the fuel tank in orbit so that we don't waste a bunch of Delta V. And I don't think it... Well, actually, it probably could land on Minmus with that on its nose, but it would be a little harder and would waste quite a lot of Delta V. So yeah, I'm going to try and land just in the light. As I want to make sure I'm at the poles, but I also want to make sure I'm not in the dark, because it's hard to see, and it makes a pretty bad video. And also, the ambient light mod. I don't know if that's been updated, I should definitely check, because it's a really good mod. It allows you to adjust the ambient light in the game. So yeah, we came in from really high, so this was pretty inefficient, but it's fine. This spacecraft has so much Delta V, it's crazy. And we might actually be able to see a sunset from the poles of Minmus, which might be quite cool. Yeah, I slowed down pretty much just in time there, which was pretty great. I love it when you slow down literally as you touch the surface. It just looks so perfect. And whenever I do it, it's always a fluke. Don't ever let future me tell you that I'm good at the game. So yeah, we're gonna grab all of this science. I need to take the gravity report again because I had one in there from the space above Minmus. So yeah, I think this is just our pilot. We didn't bring a scientist because we didn't need one, so we just have a pilot. And the Alfred, the Kerbal we rescued, he was a pilot as well, which is good because it's nice to have more pilots. Because, well, we've got quite a few pilots, but I could definitely use one more. So I'm going to throw down just poles landing. I also got about 87,000 for planting the flag, which is nice, really boosting our money. By the end of this episode, I think we have about 500 grand, which is nice because we have been a little low on money since the whole unlocking the new science center. And yeah, I actually get so distracted watching the sunrise that I actually missed where I should launch to meet the fuel tank. You can see I'm just watching it for so long, but it is really beautiful actually. But yeah, when I look away, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go right now. So yeah, I did watch the sunset maybe a little too long. Did I say sunrise? I meant sunset. But it is really cool from a pole where it kind of slips round sideways. But yeah, you can see I'm way behind it now just because I was so mesmerized by the sun. I do find, like, I know that textures in KSP aren't exactly super beautiful, but I do find there are moments, especially on Minmus. I have so much love for Minmus because, like, you'll just be on it and you're like, wow, that's beautiful. Or like on the moon when you find a canyon or something like that, and just Duna and Eve look amazing. And yeah, we've got our encounter on the other side, like a 1.6 kilometers, so that's all good. Yeah, we're gonna meet that and just kind of well, go and dock with it and head on home. I'm in a polar orbit, so I'm not going to be able to leave particularly easily, so it might, so I'm just going to leave and then do my deorbit burn in orbit of Kerbal. It just makes it a little easier. But yeah, we're just going to go and fetch this. We've got quite a lot of science, but I think I'm going to load it pretty much all into the lab on the Hermes station, because I could be making a lot more kind of science per day out of that if I fueled it up a little more. And I think also the science and data sort of eventually diminishes, and I think I've lost quite a bit, so I'm not getting as much science as I could be getting. The labs are great because they produce science just forever, basically. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just going to kind of well, I'm going to burn a little more because it'll put me in a better plane, and then in about a day I'll be able to do my deorbit burn, which, well, you'll see right now because I've still got a couple of days until I need to launch the moon lab. Well, until I can launch the moon lab, because as y'all know, I put I have a 15-day kind kind of launch break. I launch every 15 days pretty much. I can't launch more frequently than that, but I obviously can launch less frequently if I didn't need to launch anything. But I usually do. I have a pretty busy launch schedule, but I find just having an amount of time between launches will helps move things along a little more. Anyway, yes, so that'll get back to the station in about 7 days, or well, more like 8 days. And right now we're launching a Pulsar 4M with a Moon Lab loaded on top. Yes, it's still our biggest rocket until I unlock bigger rocket parts and a bigger launch pad and VAB. So yeah, but the Pulsar 4 is a very capable rocket. It has a lifting capability in fully reusable mode of about 18 tons, which for its size doesn't sound that great, but because obviously reusing it takes quite a lot of delta V, you do lose quite a bit of launch capability. I think in fully expendable mode it has quite a ridiculous launch capability. Well, for a 2.5 meter rocket, I think it's like 25 tons or something, but you do lose quite a lot for reusability actually. Especially if you don't do it perfectly. In fact, the Falcon 9 full thrust is actually a heavy lift rocket in fully expendable mode, but because they reuse it, it lifts about 13 to 14 tons, whereas in fully expendable mode it could lift 22 tons to orbit, or something like that. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting to note that the Falcon 9 is actually a heavy lift rocket. Anyway, so we'll land the first stage, grab that back. We get about 24,000 back for that because well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth reusing your rockets. So yes, we're just in orbit now, and you can see the lab. It's just a small module that will be attached to the base, and it's using the proper landing engines that kind of look like they should be on the base, and the proper landing legs. The ones that actually came in the mod pack, rather than my old, the other parts of my moon base, which all look a bit janky. But yes, I'm just going to deorbit the second stage and hopefully bring that back, and we'll get a nice shot of it re-entering there, just burning up and twisting oddly, and then landing on the ground and falling over and exploding. So we didn't really get any money back for that. We got the engine and stuff, but I think it only came to about $3,000. So yeah, you win some, you lose some. I do occasionally crash a stage, or it slips out of load range. And I can't recover it. But yes, anyway, using the third stage of the Pulsar 4M, which is the Pulsar 4 moon rocket, which includes that non-reusable third stage, which would be pretty difficult to make reusable, because from a lunar trajectory I'd have to bring it back with a heat shield, and it would need quite a lot of residual fuel. So I pretty much just surrender that to cost, because I use it so infrequently. And there's also the slightly bigger one for sending interplanetary probes, and obviously I can't reuse that. Oh yeah, and we also get this really annoying kind of texture glitch, where I quick save and quick load to get rid of that. That's a scatterer thing again. And when we get a little power from the sun, we activate our long-range antenna, well, medium-range antenna. It's good for the Kerbal system, pretty much. And yeah, we're just gonna head down to the moon, get into orbit, and just straight up land. We do have just enough delta V as long as we use the transfer stage to slow down, to do part of the landing maneuver, and then we ditch that, and then we'll use the landing engines. It's actually pretty unstable. When I actually did try landing this a couple of times, but the SAS is all, well, I thought the SAS was all messed up, but I've actually applied a bunch of trim to it, which means it turns by itself, and I just had no idea what was going on. I didn't think to check trim, so I decided to use MechJeb's Smart ASS to hold attitude. I thought it was just SAS glitch, but I've actually applied a huge amount of trim, so it's actually twisting, rolling, and pitching. Pitching, yawing, and rolling, which makes it basically impossible to land. So you can see I've got Smart ASS just holding retrograde, because the SAS doesn't actually do that by itself. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of fire up the engines and try and land. Yeah, as I said, I did take a couple of attempts at this. I don't usually do that, but I just had no idea what was going on. I was like, I want to at least do this. So yeah, you may have noticed there was a quick save in there, but maybe we'll play the game of how good is Peter's editing. But yeah, this actually goes pretty well once I figured out that I should be using MechJeb to kill rotation. MechJeb is a very useful tool. I do very much like it. I rarely use its instruments, but they are quite useful. Anyway, so we touched down about 100 meters away, and I can't do much else because it twists so much. And you can see when I turn off Smart SAS, it just starts jerking around, and if you look down at the bottom left, it's because it's had a bunch of stuff applied to it. But anyway, yes, to get closer to the base, I let it slide down the hill. And then when it stops, I use a little bit of fuel just to jolt myself down the hill a little more, because I need to be closer to the base so that I can connect it. And here we are just in 4 times time accelerated, jumping down this hill a little bit and sliding. But I'm still about 70 meters away, which is outside of the pipe's range, and I don't have enough pipes on here to connect one to the ground and then to the others. So my plan, actually, after rotating a little bit, is to actually walk this over there. And you can see how I'm doing this. I'm basically, I try using the fuel, but that kind of, I don't have enough. You can see I have 0.27 units. So I decide to walk it by basically rolling the spacecraft onto the suspension of the landing legs. And you can see I actually can push off. And because I have so much torque, because I brought a big ass reaction wheel, I get all the way over to the base just by walking the spacecraft. I thought that was pretty cool. So yes, that is here. So what we're going to need to do is connect it up. So I'm hoping I have a couple of pipe units left in the inventories, but I don't. I'm totally out of these kind of connector pipes, which kind of sucks. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move the life support module over there on the right in a bit, so that I don't have to use those double pipes with the pylon on the ground. So I disconnect it. And just use the engines to shuffle in a little closer so that I can connect to the base with one pipe, so that I can use the spare pipes to connect the lab to the life support and battery module, because there are going to need to be Kerbals in the lab 24/7, or however long a Kerbal day is. I guess 24/6. Oh no, 6/7, whatever, shut up. But yeah, so now I can grab the rest of those pipes and connect up the base, which is pretty cool. I do love doing this stuff. It makes you feel like you're really building something. That's Kerbal Attachment System is a great mod. So I'm going to grab that and put it in my inventory. And I try to grab this one, but it's actually the parent part, so I have to grab the pylon first. But I'll deal with that later. Also, I have enough stuff in my inventory now that my jetpack doesn't have enough thrust to really lift me. So yeah, I need to attach this to here. And attach it up, which is, yeah, rather easy. You just kind of grab it and press the buttons until it attaches. And yeah, you can see here I just can't get it, so I realize that it's the parent part. So I can grab the pylon first, which I'll store in this container here. I've just realized I haven't actually turned on all the purifiers. I basically have a shit ton of, I have a water purifier, a carbon scrubber, and no food module, actually. But if I turn that on, it means I'll have to do far less supply missions, and I don't actually have a supply craft for this, for the moon base. But it can generate most of what it needs, other than food, which I will be able to do at some point as well. So yeah, anyway, that's all connected up, and next episode I will definitely turn on the water purifiers and such. But yes, so we have a lab on the moon, a functioning lab, which should be pretty good once I can get back in this command module. So we're going to get Haney Kerman out, grab all of the science, and run over there and put it in. Now, when I get over there, I try to get in, but apparently it's a full module. I was like, oh shit, did I accidentally bring a couple more Kerbals? It'll be fine, because I do have enough life support for 5 Kerbals, and by I have enough life support, that means that battery, there's basically the nights on Kerbin on the moon are 3 days long, so that battery, because it doesn't have any kind of other generators, has to survive the whole night, so it can only do 5 Kerbals. Anyway, so it turns out it doesn't have any more Kerbals in the lab. It actually just needs to be deployed, and yeah, the lab deploys. I was freaking out at this point. I was like, that looks so awesome! It's like way cooler than I thought it looked, and it actually has a little telescope module on there. So yeah, I'm going to transfer my scientist in here. I'm going to start research, and I'm going to add all of this science to it. So we actually have a pretty decent amount of data. With one scientist, we're going to be getting 2.6 units of science a day. So that's not bad. And when I bring another scientist down here and grab more science from the surface of the moon, that's going to be really profitable. So yes, the moon base is in full swing, but our brave Kerbal Gregvin is on his way back from his rescue mission / science mission. He does a lot of things. Back to the station. So we're just gonna do our standard deorbit burn and then dock with the station and add all of the science to the lab on Hermes so that we can get more science. I think I actually get it up to like 10 science a day, which is crazy. I mean, that's just like I mean, that's so much science. That's like crazy. Between launches I'll make 150 science, which is ridiculous. Anyway, so we have our encounter, and here we are just slowing down towards it, and you know what this looks like, so I cut through this mostly until we're here at the station, and then just dock to it. and add all of the science to that lab. We have now 2 functioning labs always generating science, and you can see that our production rate has dropped below 4, but when we start adding science it starts going up quite seriously, and you can see in that little menu it's now up to 8 science a day, 9 science a day, 9.5, 9.5 science a day, and we have a report we need to take home because there's no more room in the lab. But yes, that is rather glorious to see. Anyway, so the final part of this video is just a fine-tune for the buzzard, one of them. I think it's the buzzard something. Anyway, it's the probe that's going for Eve. I think it's buzzard 4. And yeah, so we just need to make that change with the flight computer, but that actually didn't get us our encounter with Eve, so I'm doing a quick prograde burn here, so that we can get our encounter, and we actually do have our encounter with Eve now, and when I burn, we'll just pull it in, and there we go, and I'm going to burn again to switch it around. But yes, that is the end of the episode. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you're looking forward to the future episodes of more moon bases, and a bunch of probes hopefully getting places pretty soon. I will see you next time.